Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the first edition of Limitless Interviews. Today, I have with me the man, the myth, the legend of SSA Rocket League, Snowy. Snowy, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. And yourself?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Now, today we're gonna go over kind of your course of competition within the SSA region. Talk about all things this season, a little bit of last season, and the goings on. So, where I want to start is kind of all the way back. For you, I want to know specifically, how did you get into competition, Rocket League specifically?
How did I get into Rocket League? Well, I was kind of just playing the game somewhat casually, with a couple of friends. Like me and a friend of mine, we were like big into F1, and we saw like a couple of F1 YouTubers playing
Hmm.
Rocket League. So we started playing as well. Like it looked like a lot of fun. So we were playing that. We were playing, like I say, casually for a little bit. And then obviously, I don't really do anything like super casually, so I was becoming more and more competitive. And yeah, eventually I kind of just stumbled across the local South African scene
Hmm.
for Rocket League, and that was more like on Steam. So I was like originally playing on Xbox, and then kind of like when I actually discovered is when we got our servers. So I think most people don't actually realize at the beginning of Rocket League we didn't even have South African servers.
Wow.
So it wasn't exactly easy to like kind of connect with everybody. But they were doing it more so like on PC and Steam and Discord and that sort of thing. So we got our servers, and I started playing South African servers, and all of a sudden you're just playing with all these other South African players that you've never even seen in your life because you've just been sitting, playing EU, and you had no idea there were all these players. So started doing that, and then I was like, wow, there's like a lot more players than I was expecting. And then I kind of just shifted over to like this real like junk PC that I had just to like kind of see like what the community was like. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it, and I just started like playing in tournaments and competing from there.
So I'm curious, when did South Africa actually get servers for Rocket League?
Yo, I think now. I think it was sometime in 2017,
Hmm.
maybe like late 2017. I could probably find the exact date, but yeah, it was somewhere around there.
Wow, I mean, I knew you guys were no strangers to competing on like EU servers and servers that weren't SSA, but wow, that's a couple of years into Rocket League's lifespan. And I mean, once you found that sub-Saharan African community in Rocket League, you rose to the top. I don't know if it was fairly quickly, but you rose to the top eventually, and you've stayed there ever since. And I'd like to know, once you did find that community, how did you get to the top of competition there?
Um, well, I mean, it was a pretty small community back then.
Hmm.
So the top level of Rocket League that was being played at the time wasn't super high. Um, and like I say, I'm just a super competitive person, so I was already grinding the game hard, and the fact that I like ran into this massive competitive community kind of just like spurred me on even more. So I just like kept grinding super hard, and my immediate goal was just to be the best player, like the best South African player.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I say, the level wasn't super high, so with all the hard work and the grinding, I got there pretty quick. I think it was probably from the time of me stumbling across the whole thing, it was probably maybe 8 months, 10 months,
Hmm.
before I kind of like got into the top team, and then just went from there.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you're still at the top to this day. Is that competitive drive what keeps you at the top? Because it's not easy to stay at the top of anything for the several years now that you've been at the top of SSA. Or are there other factors that inspire you to keep going and stay at the top?
My main motivation is pretty much just winning.
Right.
That's the only thing I care about really. And I do obviously enjoy competing a lot. So just enjoying the actual process of competing and having an insane desire to win the whole time has pretty much kept me going. All these years, even when Rocket League wasn't so desirable at times,
Hmm.
or it's like kind of getting old and the grind is getting tough. It's still just the thrill of fighting for a win that keeps me going.
All right. Hey, you've done a lot of winning since SSA was introduced to the RLCS. And I mean, talk about that experience because you were certainly around before RLCS became a thing officially in SSA and the introduction. I mean, this is the 4th season now that you guys have been an official region. What's it been like having that official top level competition?
It's been incredible, honestly. It kind of changed my life a little bit. Like I wasn't really planning to do like anything big with Rocket League. And kind of the moment that we got introduced into RLCS, after all the previous years of playing and grinding and putting all this hard work into a game that I really loved, we could finally kind of do it full time and like really take it to the next level. Like we could actually get to overseas, these big events like majors and world championships and that sort of thing. So it really just, yeah, like I said, it changed the path of my life for sure because I wasn't gonna miss out on that. It just like became a lot more serious and a lot more professional like straight away as soon as we were included.
That's great. I mean, that professionalism, of course, has come with changes over time. I mean, you guys, your team specifically, being the #1 team in every single season so far, has made a change up until this season. Actually, the first time you haven't made a roster change. And I'm curious, like with all the change and turnover, is that something that weighs on you having to make roster moves in such a tight knit community at the top of competition?
Yeah, definitely weighs on me for sure, and weighs on the team because you spend a season with whatever teammate, and you really like you create a close bond. You spend a lot of time with them. You go through the highs and the lows together. So when it comes to the end of the season, you obviously assess where you are as a team, and I would say generally when it comes to Rocket League, normally making a change at the end of like a long year, a long season it's usually a step to kind of keep things fresh and try and keep the teams level at the top. So yeah, it can be pretty rough. Like I've had a couple of teammates part where it's been like really sad to see them go, but it's kind of just like a necessity given given the way the game goes. So yeah, it's definitely a tough side of the game.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, though, you do get to bring in new talent to be a part of that top roster. I mean, Sweaty and To Die for your current teammates, both of those roster changes that you have made since the induction into the RLCS. Do you have a process when it comes to finding the next talent up that you bring in to join your team?
I wouldn't say we have a particular process. It's pretty clear by the time that a season has passed, who the next successor will be. I don't really think we've never really had a hard time, choosing. I think, given the size of the South African Rocket League base, we already know who's in line, to join the top team because there's always going to be one player that has an amazing season or has a breakout season or improves a lot and really just shows that outside of our current team, they are the next best player. And the way our team works is we always, like you said, we stayed on top for so many years, and every season we try to make sure that we keep staying on top. So it's virtually, a guaranteed thing that the guy who's having the best season will, inevitably join the team, to keep our level up.
That makes sense. And talking about those guys that have been the next up, Sweaty and To Die For, I'm curious about your take on the team dynamic. Sweaty said it was a great dynamic, how you're kind of the big brother, To Die For is the little brother in the team. And I'm curious, how do you feel being called the big brother here?
I don't mind, to be honest. I like it. I think at the moment, with this roster, we have amazing team chemistry. Honestly, it's such an incredible vibe, specifically in this team's roster. Yeah, I really enjoyed a lot. I think we all like great friends, and we all bounce off each other really well. And yeah, it's a great vibe.
I love hearing that. That's what Sweaty said as well. The vibes are great, great chemistry, and I mean you need that to deal with the stresses of competition. I mean right now in SSA, one of the biggest stories of the entire RLCS season is the EU import situation, and I know that you haven't minced words on that topic in the past, and now I'm curious, just right here, right now, what do you think about that whole situation, and how might you fix it?
I mean, the whole import situation is extremely sad. It's, it's really frustrating that Epic have, kind of put us in this position, and they've kind of just disregarded our region to the side and basically said, well, anybody can do what they want with that region. They haven't protected, the local player base that was supposed to be given an opportunity to grow. But, it's just the cards that we've been dealt, and it's on us to deal with whatever comes our way, as far as imports go. And it's kind of created like a new challenge where, it went from, growing and building the region to now we actually have to defend it because we are literally being invaded.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a it's a really rough situation, but like I say, we just have to deal with it because yeah, Epic don't care at all. So we just gotta make do.
Well, if there's one thing I've learned since coming into the SSA region, and being a small part of that, is like you guys are the most resilient people that I've ever met in esports. In all honesty, with load shedding, with the small community to start with, now with the invasion of import teams, and you're still at the top to this day. You got the last laugh at Worlds last season, even though Mobula came in and stole the major spot for Major 2. But at Worlds, I mean, talking about the brighter spot of competition again, that was an incredible outing representing the Sub-Saharan African RLCS region. I want to talk about that experience, and how do you enjoy the trip to Texas and how you guys performed there?
It was an incredible trip. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the event, it definitely could have gone better.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, yeah, it was a lot of close games with really good teams, and it was just like very small details that if they changed, we might have had like a real breakthrough event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, the first time that we played in front of like an absolutely massive crowd, like in the middle of a stadium, was definitely the highlight of my career. I've been waiting a long time to experience something like that. So the fact that that actually happened, yeah, it was just amazing. And while we were on the stage, we also had some good moments.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just all around it was an incredible event. And yeah, we had family with us. We had all sorts of stuff going on. We had the Limitless guys come out. That was the first event that they've been with us since we've been representing Limitless. It just, yeah, altogether, even though the result isn't exactly what we wanted, it was an amazing time and an amazing event.
Talk specifically about that appearance on the main stage and that Swiss series. I mean, were there still nerves? Because you've been competing for a long time, and I imagine you've seen a lot. Were you nervous up in the middle of thousands of people watching you in an arena?
I actually wasn't really
Wow.
nervous. I before we played, I was definitely nervous, and I was expecting to be like more nervous than I've ever been because I mean, it's just you on a stage in front of many thousand people, and that's pretty much the highest pressure spot that you could be in.
Mm-hmm.
But when it actually came to the game, I actually managed to like focus like super hard on the game, and like just like kind of lock in and tunnel vision on what was happening in the game, and that kind of just took all the nerves out of it for me. And it was kind of like a combination of being locked in and knowing that it was such an amazing situation that I was obviously focused and I managed to play like pretty decent. But yeah, like the only downside to that was I didn't actually remember a lot of the experience because I was so focused on the game.
I suppose that makes sense. You gotta sacrifice a little bit of the experience to really be that locked in. But I mean, it's not your first international LAN as well. You guys went to the Esports World Cup as well before Worlds, and you went to the FIFA tournament as well during the off season. What's it been like just traveling as a whole, even outside of Worlds? And I'll go one step further outside of that main stage experience. What's been your favorite travel memory so far that Rocket League has kind of given you?
There's been a lot, to be honest, so it'd
Hmm.
be hard to narrow down a specific
All
one.
right.
I mean, we participated in our first major, obviously. We finally this season got included in the majors,
Hmm.
and we qualified for the first one in a really cool country in Copenhagen, in Denmark. So that was amazing. This most recent FIFA E tournament, I think the fact that we were representing our country for a change, and it was just a very unique event. That was very enjoyable. So yeah, there's been a lot of great memories, and the traveling it's been a great experience. Just hopping around the world with some of my best buds, and obviously my teammates I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Um, the actual traveling though is pretty terrible. Like many long flights, many long layovers. That's not enjoyable. But yeah, the memories that we experienced in all these cool countries, that was definitely cool.
That's good that once you get there, it's a lot of fun. Hopefully, it
Yeah,
makes up for the long travel.
exactly.
But talking about the FIFA World Cup, I asked Sweaty the same question because I'm curious personally what your take on the best of two format was, and also representing your country, which I'm pretty sure I know your answer about it being cool to represent your country, but the format and that unique style of an event, I want to know what your take on it was.
I really liked it, to be honest. I think it definitely mixed it up from the norm of just like, group stage or Swiss
Hmm.
or whatever. I think the fact that you could tie was really cool. Like it felt like every game was a lot more competitive almost. It sounds strange, but yeah, and I think even the fact that once we were like even statistically out, the fact that people are playing for goal difference and for those
Hmm.
games like to matter in the groups, like we were able to, you know, upset some other team that's still in it, even though we're out of it, which, a lot of people were annoyed about, but it's kind of like a fun thing for us,
Yep.
that we still got going for us, even though we're out. And obviously representing our country is pretty much, for me, it's the highest honor that, you can have. I mean, us as South Africans, we're extremely patriotic, and putting on that jersey with the green and the gold, it meant a huge amount to me, and yeah, it was just I think that event was really cool.
All right, I love that take on it. And then talking more about the off season as well. You had a couple of off season tournaments, and I know in the ones tournament, you took down Sweaty in the grand finals. There, he said he was disappointed that he let the old man take that tournament. So I have to ask you as well, if you guys do have another ones tournament like that, are you taking the crown again?
I'd imagine so.
All right.
I think I think I've got their number down once. They really should be beating me, but they haven't yet. So yeah, I'd be confident in another ones tournament if it comes up.
Still on top even individually after all this time. That's really cool. And then he teamed up with him in hoops and did quite well there. But in the threes tournaments, second place to Hay, which is a new European import roster, one of the better ones for sure going into the RLCS season. And you guys played them three times, got the one win against them to force the bracket reset. But what happened in that tournament specifically? Was it just coming out of the offseason a little bit rusty, or do you think it's a sign of potentially something to come this first split?
Definitely a bit of rust and like a bit of we didn't have like the best team practice leading up to that
Hmm.
tournament because for who knows what reason, why they put it 2 days before Christmas. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just like the absolute worst time for a tournament. So like, all of us are kind of bouncing around on holidays, and then the two tournaments that were kind of soon before that one were ones and hoops.
Right.
So obviously we also practicing for those tournaments. We grinding a lot of ones. Doing hoops like leading up to the hoops tournament. I was in hoops free play the whole time, doing hoop scrims and that sort of thing. So it really disrupted our actual team practice. So that had an effect, and I also just think like wasn't our greatest performance, and the team that we lost to, they were, even though they were on high ping, they were able to kind of like negate it, through their play style, and they played really
Hmm.
well. So yeah, it was very close, and we kind of just slipped up a tiny bit at the end, which is frustrating, but yeah, it was a good learning experience nevertheless.
That's what it's for. Off-season event doesn't mean too much. I'm glad you guys are taking stuff from it though, and I mean another change going into this season, a change up in the coaching staff, bringing CP Zebra back to coach you again. And it's been a minute since he was your official coach in the RLCS. What does that change mean to you to bring him on for the season?
I think it's great to have him back, to be honest. I mean, me and him have an extremely long history. I've known him for many years. We were actually talking about it earlier tonight. Obviously, he's a former teammate of mine. We used to play together. And he was a former coach of mine as well in the first season of RLCS. So, we know each other extremely well. We think, about the game very similarly. And yeah, he's just a great guy to have around in the team. And yeah, I'm hoping he can come, teach my young teammates a thing or two, kind of give them a few fresh ideas on our gameplay as a team, and yeah, just see what we can do. But yeah, it's great to have him back.
I'm excited to see what he can do for you guys this season. And as we're winding this down, I got a couple more questions for you. As this is an official Limitless interview, I do have to ask you about your experience with the org. I mean, you've played under the Limitless banner for a couple seasons now. What's it been like playing under that Limitless name?
Oh, it's been really good. I really like the guys at Limitless. They've treated us really well over the years. And yeah, it's been a great partnership. It's exciting to continue it for another season. I think this is now our third season together. And yeah, it's been a good relationship. And over the years, we've kind of just like we've built this local brand together. Whenever somebody thinks of the strong team from our region, that's the name that comes into their head. Even though it's our roster, our partnership is Limitless, and that's a quite a big thing that we've built together. So hopefully we can continue that into the season, have another successful season, and see where we go from there.
I'm ready for it. The last question I've got for you, I'd like to know how you think this season is going to go for you guys. And it's kind of a loaded question, but I'd like you to preview the RLCS 2025 season for Limitless.
I think it's going to be a really successful one for us, to be honest. I was a bit pessimistic, towards the end of last season about how the landscape of this season might look. I kind of thought, our region might get overrun like quite badly. But as it looks at the moment, it doesn't seem to be that bad at all. And I think our results at some of the recent international lands that we've been to has really boosted, mine and the team's confidence that, we can defend our region successfully. And any teams that decide to invade, we can take them down and send them home. Yeah, I think it'll be a really successful season for us, and I'm excited to get it started.
I am too. I'm excited to watch your story unfold this season, Snowy. I appreciate you joining me. Best of luck this season.
Thanks a lot, man.